Okay, day 167, the Awan Brotherhood. I want to delve into the business partners a little bit more of the Awan brothers today and see if there's any linkages to Tahir Javid as well as Muslim Brotherhood and other linkages. I'd like to send this out to Ray McGovern. He's been involved in Washington for 50 years, a lot of CIA expertise and so forth. And again, I want to establish linkages. Were the Awans hacking through a liaison relationship for Andrew McCabe at the FBI? Were they doing hacks and wiretaps for Hillary Clinton? So who are the Awans again? They're all making $160K a year. The key thing, though, is they have this nanoset technologies. The Capitol Police say that they're stealing stuff from the House of Representatives offices and then selling technology back through nanoset technology to the government. Again, the FBI and Andrew McCabe is not involved yet in investigating this. But again, these are the top secret committees of the House of Representatives, and you would think that would be a matter for the FBI. This is an international espionage case. There's also a fifth Awan brother now, by the way, Muhammad Ali Awan, looks like an intern. I think we're going to see a lot more interns coming about, but yet another Awan brother now. So the reason why I'm focusing on this is not because of the Pakistani issue or anything like that. It's because they're the one, the stepmother is the one, and her good friend, who is also Pakistani, and say she was imprisoned. The Awan brothers hacked her phone. They made her change her inheritance. They threatened to kidnap and kill her relatives. And she says they ransacked the house and took all the computers and so forth. Their father is the one, or at least someone on Imran Awan's Facebook, is a DynCorp trained police force, and there's many, many, many pictures on the Facebook site of kind of glorifying these DynCorp trained military police near the Punjab region of Pakistan. There's also lots of references to clerics, radical Islamic clerics, as well as jihadists. So I went to yesterday, I'm in Springfield, Connecticut now, but I went to Springfield, Massachusetts yesterday to visit the Imran rice mills. Well, they're not there anymore. They've moved back to Pakistan, but it is a convenience store. I don't know if it's a Javid convenience store, but it's one of these places where you can get a mailbox, you can get money orders, and you can wire money really easily. Across the street, it's the public library where you can get on a public computer. Right next to that is, not far down the street, is a processing center for people on parole, and then there's a kind of a daycare for latchkey kids right next to that. So Springfield, Massachusetts, I believe, is kind of a recruiting hub. I don't know if they're bringing in Adderall to go to all the different Ivy Leagues or just drugs or whatever, but it does seem like a hub for drug activity in Springfield, Massachusetts. I think also Springfield, Connecticut, you're going to find is the same way, but with the prison here and so forth, but I'll defer that to a later episode. Again, Nanoset Technologies is sold MRI technology to Biofan, which is Michael Weiner in New York is kind of a trade representative for hedge funds. So this idea, a lot of focus on MRI and cancer. This technology they sold was for MRI for people who had different valves and so forth in their heart that they couldn't do normal MRI. Interesting combination that the Awan brothers would make these 4 rice orders 16 months apart, about the same time that they were making those cutout companies 16 months apart, planning to fail them, planning to have them shut down every 16 months. Just interesting that the 4 rice orders are like that. Again, narco-terrorism and so forth, the CIA's favorite tactic is to use drug profits from a drug sale to then fund their agents for a certain length of time, and the tour of duty could very well be 16 months. So, Nanoset Technologies. Who else is involved with the Awans in Nanoset Technologies? Well, Soraya Begum was involved in the old Nanoset Technologies, and then Dr. Soraya Begum is involved in the new Nanoset Technologies. Now, she is the Minister of Cultural Affairs in Bangladesh, which was East Pakistan. She is the director of the VA hospital for internal medicine. I also believe mental health for some reason for Maryland and Virginia. even though the corporation they also created was called New Dawn 2001, which shares the name of the military operations that we called the operation in Afghanistan. That corporation was actually created in July 29th, 2011, around the time Hillary was talking about the success of her Mango mission and the Mango diplomacy that she talks so much about. So they also had another principal in the company, Abdul Hasnat, who is in Texas for some reason. He's an expert with Cisco routers, and he's an expert in security audits. So let's focus a little bit more on that. Who is Dr. Soraya Begum? Well, first question I ask anybody about Bangladesh is, do you know Muhammad Yunus? Some people call him Muhammad Kidney. Some people call him Muhammad Microloan. Some people call him Muhammad Sewing Machine for the sewing machines he would indebt people with to force them into kind of a slave labor and eventually giving up their organs. So I don't know the question of that, but I do know that she was involved with these Bangladesh export zones, sort of like enterprise zones, to try to create new businesses for Bangladesh. I don't know if that's her mother, which would be understandable as she is the Minister of Cultural Affairs, or I don't know if that's the daughter. They might not even be related, who knows. But then she's also on the board of Biman Airlines, which is the national airlines of Bangladesh. She's also, the doctor is also writes extensively about hydrological disasters, floods, and so forth, using and monitoring it using space technology. Space technology keeps coming up. Here's another article about monitoring Cyclone Thane, Thane, with space technology. Another article she wrote about using space technology to monitor tornadoes, so forth. So a lot of emphasis on space technology. Now remember, NanoSat is also the name of a technology forum every year in Lahore, Pakistan. So the father of the Awan brothers, even though he's in Virginia, even though he's on a 9-corps police force in Pakistan, also is in Texas. Also is in Texas talking about transponders, that Iridium cell phones and transponders that can monitor air, land, and sea operations, movement of goods, as well as for a potential rescue situation if there was a natural disaster. But for some reason, he focuses in on Texas. Now we know Muhammad Hasnat from the previous slide also, for some reason, is a lot in Texas. Again, I think you're going to find a link here in Sugar Land, Texas, through a company called World Communications. And they're going to have a tower there in Sugar Land, Texas. I believe Muhammad Hasnat knows where Sugar Land, Texas is, and he knows where Beaumont, Texas is. And this is going to be known as the Sugar Land Express. I won't go much into it more than that right now. I just wanted to also say that Muhammad Shah, being a 9-corps trained police force, running that police force, 9-corps police force, also felt it necessary to get involved in innovative medical physics out of Las Vegas, which is training folks for coming from Pakistan to the United States to work in medical MRI. Again, cancer and MRI. I looked at the National Science Foundation grants for medical physics, and I found that Weinberg Medical Physics was the recipient. Again, just an interesting relationship. I would like to know if Soraya Begum, being at this Hawks Head Drive house here in Lorton, Virginia, living at the house, you would see visitors coming and going. Has she ever met Mohammed Hunsla, who's an expert in the global information grid, who worked at Lightbridge Communication, the same Lightbridge Communication that Imran Awan worked at? Do they know where the DISA is, the Department of Information Systems Agency is in Springfield, Virginia? Have they ever been there? So for a doctor in gynecology to be involved in a lot in this imaging just is surprising to me. So again, we're going to go back to the rice business and so forth. This rice company that sold the rice to for Muhammad's 4 rice orders is a state-supported rice company from those export regions that we talked about earlier. Here's the Teveta is the state support. Now this is Pakistan now, not Bangladesh. This is the other side of India. but they are receiving government funds over there for this. So what is the relationship between them shipping these folks here, shipping rice to that Springfield location, which seems to be a bunch of P.O. boxes? Okay, just an odd set of circumstances. And again, Surya Begum is an expert in the space monitoring, space satellite situation. Does she have any knowledge of these CubeSats? She started a company called NanoSat. Is that any relation to nanosats being a way of monitoring things on the ground? Is she familiar with Palantir at all, which manages the whole end-to-end visibility of these assets and can see relationships? Has she met any of these people at cocktail parties, any of the Democratic employers of the Awan brothers, these 31 different Democrats? Did she hear at all about the 20 burglaries? Is she aware of any of this, of her business partners being under probe and investigation for theft of equipment from the House of Representatives? Does she know, for instance, Tahir Javid? Has she ever met him before? Has she ever has she ever talked to him about any of his business dealings? He runs a big hospital chain. Has she ever been in any meetings or talked at any of his events or consortiums and so forth? These are just natural questions I would like to talk with her and interview her in Virginia to ask. I think a lot of the questions and a lot of the credibility would come from if Andrew McCabe would publish Hillary and Huma's server metadata. No national secrets there at all, as well as the Awan brothers server metadata. Then we can see these linkages, and we wouldn't have to guess or try to pry these pieces of information out. There seems to be a lot of activity around satellite imaging, a lot of activity around places where murders have taken place, imprisonments taken place, a lot of threats have taken place, a lot of kidnappings have taken place, the involvement of DynCorp over and over and over again in these situations. I think it's time for Andrew McCabe to recuse himself from the case and publish the metadata. That's it for this morning, and off to Yale now.